Would you like to share maybe a couple of things for people who are looking for work or trying to develop in their career?
Yeah, I guess my overall advice is to really listen to yourself and to really lean into what makes you different and what you enjoy and what you excel at and what you gravitate to. Like back to that story of, on the weekends I didn't read TMT magazines. Like, so to pay attention to those things, because there is a lot that we can do with our time and our lives, and life is too short. And the last couple of years have shown us that. So I think we should be doing more of what gives us joy and what makes us different and really what makes us excel. I also think, try and find spaces where you can grow yourself, but you can also affect change. That's so much of the work that we all have to do. And I also think my last message would be to take care of yourself, right? This is a really hard time. Like half of us are still remote, everything. Some people are in the office. It's like a really complicated place. And we've unpacked a lot about what's not working in the world, right? I mean, that's where we are. Like, I think we're in the part where we've unpacked everything and everything's on the ground and we're figuring out how we put it back together. But when it's on the ground and unpacked, it's messy, it's complicated, it's emotional, it's stressful. And then we just have to have more grace with ourselves as we figure it out. But I would encourage your listeners to trust themselves and to leap, and that we all have power to make change and we all have power to live the lives that we want, but sometimes we have been told not to, and that's the work that we have to do, is to believe that we can, and you have to rewrite those narratives for yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point about power. I think we have far more power than we think. And sometimes it's just the narrative of the world that has said, look, just accept what you're given in terms of the employee-employer relationship, or you can't leave, or you can't do something different. Actually, it's about reimagining, changing your perspective, reframing, and there are so many different things that we can be doing internally, because the world is the way the world is, and you can't really change that, but you can change yourself and the way you react to certain situations. And I think that's what you've been talking about in your book. Take that power back, and actually, okay, the world isn't fair, and that's just a fact. But what you can do is take control back to a certain extent, do everything you can to change yourself, upskill yourself, create relationships, build your network, get people on board. Is that?
I think I love that. I think that's very true. I think the only thing I would tweak is I also now believe that we can make the change, right? Like, so I also think it's not, because structures aren't going to change on their own. There's a line I love in the book where I interviewed this lobbyist, and she's reminded me of, in olden days, they used to say, when a king died, the king just died, long live the king, because there would be a succession plan, like the new king had been planned. And the point of that story was you take power from one and you give it to the other. And her point was, we're doing that. We're giving the power. They were not a king 24 hours ago. Like, we are giving them the power. And in that same sort of way, we can take power back from structures too, but we have to want to. And so, yeah, I love what you said. I would just add, like, I want us to also change the structure. Like, we don't have to accept how it is. And that's our work too.
Oh, and sorry, one last point. I think with the structure, you also need to be clever about the fights that you pick.
Yes.
And think about, be very strategic. And look, sometimes however much you want to change it, it's very difficult. And just be very cognizant of the type of environment you're in. And I think you mentioned that on one of your other.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, certain places aren't going to let you set things ablaze. And so, yeah, again, it's back to that picking your battles. And I think it's also about finding your co-conspirators and your allies while you do that, right? Like, so you can't take on structural change by yourself, which is why communities like Information are so important, because you need to be reminded, and you need support when you get the backlash, and that's part of the process and part of how you make it happen.